Hola clase, hoy vamos a hablar de los números. So we've been working with numbers since the beginning of Spanish 1. No big deal. Uno, dos, tres. Everything I needed to know I learned from Dora. And now it's time for us to start working on some bigger numbers. So just a quick review. Remember that when you say or write numbers, you just say them or write them the way that they would be built. So 55 is 50 and 5, 55. 83 is 80 and 3, 83. Don't forget that the numbers 16 to 29 are what I refer to as mashups. It's kind of my nod to Glee right there. 24, 24, which is 20 and 4, 24 mashed up together, 17, 17. So now let's tackle the hundreds. So don't forget that the word cien is just for the number 100, 100. When we add on to that, that word becomes ciento. So if we want to say 105, 105, 134, 134. Notice that in 105 there is no and between 100 and 5. It's just 105, 105. But there is an and in 134, but it's between the 30 and the 4, which is nice because that's where it's always been for us, which I just explained right here. So there's an and that goes between the tens and the ones place. There is no and between the hundreds and the tens place. So hopefully that expression tens place, ones place, hundreds place makes sense to you from your elementary school math. Okay, the new vocab that we are learning is as follows. 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. All of them are plural, you'll notice, because once you get beyond 100, these numbers are plural, 200s, 300s. Pay particular attention to 500, 700, and 900, because those are not good mashups of 5 and 100, 7 and 100. There's a little irregularity there. So those are the ones you need to pay particular attention to. When you get into the thousands, it's really important for talking about years. And something I want you to think about, is it more important for you to be able to say and understand numbers that are spoken or to be able to write numbers? I really want our focus to be on saying and understanding numbers because that's where these really come into play. You don't write numbers this big. We'll practice it a little bit, but then we're going to move on to just saying them and understanding them when they're spoken. So here are a couple examples of a year. 1971 was a wonderful year. Do you know why? That's the year I was born. So 1971, 1971. I think it's pretty important for you to be able to say the year you were born because that's something someone would ask you. What year were you born? 1971. In the current year is also an important one. So 2013, 2013. What's the year you were born? Can you say that? That sounded pretty good. Okay, don't forget, we're only going to put and between the tens and ones place, so you can see it in my 71, but notice there's not one in 2003. And numbers in Spanish don't use a comma, but they do use a period where we put a comma when it's a number, not a year. So you'll notice my above examples, 1971 and 2013, have no period because those are years, same thing we do. But 4,365 would have a period because that's a number, not a year. So when we get bigger than that, we could go on and on. These are written and spoken just like English. So here's 723,264. If you want to say this in Spanish, you need to say 723,264. So break it into chunks, just like we do in English. And here's the Spanish, 723,000. There's your 723,000. Now you need 264 264. These are really intimidating at first, but if you look at them all as 3-digit chunks, they're not so bad. So you really have to get good at your 3-digit chunks because that's where everything else comes from. So let's get to practicing and let's make sure we focus on understanding them when we hear them and being able to say them. Oh, wait, my video's not finished. We have to talk about the date. Why be able to say the date if we can't say dates and years together? So, do you remember the song we used to sing? ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? Oh, yeah, that was a good one. And it was October 23rd. Es el 23 de octubre. Well, now we can say the year. So we can say, es el 23 de octubre de 2013. Not sure how we're supposed to tack that on there. But notice, I've said my date. Es el 23 de octubre. Then I've added a day. 2013. That's all you have to do to tack a year onto a date. So, why don't you practice by saying the day and year you were born? Say it now. I'll do my best, Dora. Muy bien! So work on that. That's something that you're really going to want to be able to say. Okay, thanks for listening, and I'll see you in class.